Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-filled discussion for Marvel's Deadpool and Wolverine. And I'm just going to say that again right here, spoiler-filled. You still with us? Okay then, let's fucking go. Hey there, you chimichanga-loving Disney shills, and welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-filled discussion for Marvel's Deadpool and Wolverine. Special thanks, as always, to Deadpool for being the most handsome and intelligent son of a bitch this side of the beautiful Niagara Falls, and for always being the best X-Man ever to live. Haha, you're actually still reading this, you noodle-brained Marvel milk titty suck it. Okay, I think Deadpool might have hacked my computer, guys, so sorry about that. But if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, and all things Geekcentric. Joining me for today's super soaking wet, spoiler-filled discussion, we have Justin, the finger-licking, dead-inside pixie slab of third-rate dime store nut milk, Lawrence.
Your names are completely accurate for me. I am totally a finger licking. I lack no soul. I have
and your
no
nut
soul.
milk?
Sorry?
And your nut milk?
Oh, nut milk. Yeah, for sure. My nut milk. I am
not your nut milk. No, you
okay,
get nut
sorry.
milk.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
If Deadpool wrote this name tag for me, fantastic job, Deadpool.
And trapped in the void here alongside him is Darcy, the juggernaut gargling Hudson.
Oh God, I so much shorter and somehow so much worse.
Yeah. Listen, these aren't my words, guys. These are actually Johnny's words. Okay, so don't blame me. Don't blame me. Don't blame Deadpool. We know that. But how's it going, guys? You guys ready to dig into this movie? Finally. All the spoilers have been either put out online already by major outlets or even Marvel themselves in some ways. But you guys ready to break down some moments and jokes and Easter eggs from this movie?
Yeah, man.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. It feels like we've been waiting way too long, but we're finally going to dig into it. So yeah, we're going to talk about like moments from the movie that we enjoyed, jokes, Easter eggs, maybe some thoughts on some key elements from the story that we couldn't really discuss in our spoiler free review. And then finally, we're going to kind of talk about where we think Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as a few others, could join, in the future of the MCU. So let's start off with favorite moments and jokes, guys. I think, there's way too many to go over all of them here, but I want to toss it over to either of you. What were some of your favorite jokes in this movie?
Well, I feel like we can't talk about favorite jokes without talking about Peter, because the running joke of Peter has
Pool.
just reached new levels with this movie and is so good. I think the one that I keep laughing at, having seen it 3 times, and I still find it just as funny as the first time, is when he's discussing, midlife crisis. He knew a guy who got his nipples pierced and connected with a titanium chain to his Van Johnson. And then later on at the party, you see him showing it to Dopinder and Negasonic. And then he's like, go on, pull it. And then they do it. And he's like, oh, what happened? He's like, see, that's the fun of it. And just like that
So
response is so good. Just the delivery. Everything Peter is great.
His ill-fitting Deadpool suit, his giant ball sack over his belt was so good.
Inexplicable attraction to Peter Pool too. Like
yes, and that's what I was going to say. I want Hunter B-15 and Peter to go on a date. Like, give me a Marvel short on Valentine's Day or something, and it's just their first date together. Oh, my heart.
He's so awkwardly cringy and so funny because of that. Like,
so good.
I love Peter.
Yeah, there's a ton of great jokes. Like, it's just the one-liners that I find Deadpool delivers. If it isn't come again, this time in my ear, which was hilarious. I laughed out loud first time I heard that. I think the one that I really liked was keep my country's name out of your fucking mouth. The Will Smith inspired line. Good. He throws the adamantium sword and it just bounces and goes right through the guy's mouth. I thought that was great. I thought that was probably my my favorite joke from. There's tons of jokes though. Like
Especially as
there's
Canadians, though,
tons.
Justin, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
being
absolutely.
in a Canadian audience watching this movie, and we're all cheering for Canada.
Well, especially the guy what he said. What he
Yeah,
said
oh,
too. He's like, you're the you're a piece of shit that came out of the worst thing that comes come out of Canada, right? It was just like,
like, dude,
yo, come on.
ridiculous. Yeah, and I think I don't often feel patriotism for Canada, but I did in that moment for sure.
Mm.
I will say, just going back to Peter really quick. I did get a chance to interview Rob Delaney for this movie, and it's funny because thinking about it, he does say in the interview, because I asked him about like what would a Peter popcorn bucket look like, and he does say, once everyone's seen the movie, I'm going to have a different answer. And so clearly, a Deadpool suit maybe on this new Peter Pool bucket specifically. But I
Mm.
also want to call out or shout out Ada Aneki. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Who's head of culture at BuzzFeed, who commented on that clip on our socials, and she was saying, yeah, a nipple chain attached to the bucket so that it could be used as like a purse afterwards would be awesome. And I was like, bro, listen, I wish I could have brought up the nipple chain in my interview with him, but I sort of allude to it. But yeah,
Yes,
no,
he
I thought
definitely did. He appreciated. He
he did.
appreciated it, and he loved that it sounded like he was nude in this movie. So
Yeah,
people are going to see a nude Peter. But yeah, that joke right off the top really does set the bar for Peter.
yeah.
Especially just like it was just like when they pull at it and he's just like, "Whoo," he's just like, "Ooh, that tickles," and that's the fun of
That's
it.
the
Like
fun of it.
it's
Like
so
you would say
it's
about like a
so
board game that you brought to a party or something.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's
so
a
good.
party trick, right? Like
Yeah,
it's definitely like a little party trick that he has. You said favorite jokes and favorite moments.
yeah.
Favorite moment from the movie. It's kind of a toss up for me. It's somewhere between that one take with Wolverine and Deadpool fighting all of the Deadpool
The
Corp
Deadpools. Yeah,
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
that music laid in. It was really well done, and then also like this sort of climactic ending. I really enjoyed that moment where they're together, they have their hands in between those bars, and
They're
the
holding
sort of
hands to Madonna. It's
yeah,
great.
it's the choir music. It's the way that we flash through their lives to really understand what's brought them here to it. Like in a lot of in a lot of ways, as silly and fun as the movie is, and it does try to have moments of heart. And I did like this moment because it showed how they were both on different journeys and have very much found each other. In
hmm
this, it does sort of romanticize and the bromance relationship between Wolverine, the sort of Wolverine and Deadpool, and highlight the sort of odd couple mentality that they have, but they have so much in common. So I don't know. I really, to me, like watching it the third time, I definitely was like, I had goosebumps, even though I had already seen it. Like just the way it builds and it gets
Hmm.
going, and it was really well done.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. My favorite moment was also the Deadpool fight. Like just that whole one take, like you said, it starts
Mhm.
off with the reveal of the mask we've all been waiting
Oh
for.
yeah, that
And
was great.
seeing that again, the first time I was like, I'm not sure. I'm glad they only did it for the little bit. I'm not sure if I could have dealt with it the whole
Yeah.
movie, but the more I see the movie, the more that mask is growing on me, just because it's
Mhm.
so much fun to see that brought to life. And going further is we talk about how a lot of these Marvel movies have those moments that feel like a two-page spread from a comic.
Yeah.
Well, them jumping out the back of that bus feels like a
Oh,
comic cover moment. Like I can see them, the two of them, the way they're framed out in that iconic Wolverine pose. Like, oh, that got me pumped.
I loved the pose. I hated the CGI though. Like they
Mm,
looked like
Yes,
Mr. Smith from the
the
second
landing. They
Matrix.
look great.
They
They look
just
great
like
breaking through. It was when they land. It looks so they lost me there.
I wonder though if they could have somehow shot that practically, but they just didn't have the time to, or it was
mm,
something that like was just so convoluted to try to do on the day of shooting that they resulted in using CGI because I don't know, like that is some rubbery CGI at the end. That was my
for sure.
only complaint about it. But the whole like take of that sort of side shot of the fighting happening, you can see that there's a mix of CGI, but most of it looks pretty practical.
Yeah.
Or if it's not, they did a really good job of hiding it. And I love that ending. I love that leap out And but it was just it was so CGI. It just took me back to, like, again, Matrix. Is it Reloaded? Matrix Reloaded? Yeah, that's the
Mm.
one with
Just
all the
any of them that aren't
Smiths.
the first one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the Smiths, and they're fighting Neo, and it gets super rubbery in the middle
Yeah.
of that fight. That's what the CGI really hit. But the moment itself, like that freeze frames, as you said, Darcy, it's so comic book accurate. Do you know what I mean? It looks so cool.
Well,
Mhm.
I was gonna say that was also my favorite moment, but I will say, speaking of comic book accurate, I'll also shout out another moment that kicked off a montage of Wolverines.
Yes.
You guys are talking about all the Deadpools, the Wolverines we got. Short King Wolverine is incredible. '90s Wolverine with the missing hand. We got Old Man Logan with a shotgun. But the one moment that was kept from us in our preview footage, and I know Justin and I were both freaking out about this, was Henry motherfucking Cavill, the Cavalrine. I loved seeing this with him. I loved getting the sort of allusion to him. He was all greased up. He's working on a bike. But then I love seeing him cock his arms like he does, like
Because
his
that's
Mission
what he
Impossible
does.
character. It's
Exactly.
so good.
He cocks his claws out, and
Yeah.
he just goes to town. I will
Oh,
just throw this out there. Like, is this a fun cameo, or is this a subtle nod to what's next?
I'd be okay with it.
Like, I
I
don't, it could
Yeah,
be like, they don't,
Professor Frink over here. It
they
could
don't,
be. I
they don't linger on it for too long,
Yeah.
but it does feel like it is just a one-off. But is it? Like, could it
yeah.
be
I'm
something
on the
more?
fence that I hope it is because it's a fun way to nod to the fan casting, much like we got Reed Richards, John Krasinski.
Right.
But I don't think I'd be able to buy Cavill as the Wolverine. He doesn't seem
Mm.
angry enough. I don't know. Like
Maybe.
maybe there is. I don't know. I just maybe I want maybe not quite comic accurate. After we've seen that looks pretty goofy, but give me a shorter, angrier Wolverine for sure.
No, I agree. I think the only thing I don't really like about Cavill as Wolverine is because he's so big, right?
Yeah.
He's
Mm,
too tall. I'd probably want to see Cavill as like a Mr. Sinister or a Colossus,
Ooh,
which I
that'd be
think would
good.
be
Yeah.
Colossus is a little more muscle, but I think Mr. Sinister
that would
would
be
give him
cool.
something, like, from an acting perspective, for him to
To
do.
really work
But
with
yeah,
and
to work
stuff.
with.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. To your point, I hope it's just a one-off, like a Krasinski. Fans have always wanted to see it. Here it is. But it goes hand in hand with what Wendy Jacobson said. Like, they threw out a lot of, like, different like bait, I guess, cameo options, or people that were going to appear in this movie. Daniel Radcliffe was also, claimed. How much of that was actually true, to kind of throw people off of the scent of Henry Cavill, who I also heard, had been casted in an MCU movie, or was going to appear in this movie as a Wolverine variant. That was, all over the internet for a little while there. So, and that kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the different appearances that we see throughout this movie. It's all stuff that I saw, had heard of, that was going to potentially
Mhm.
happen from the internet. But there was a mix, right? So when you really go in there and you watch this movie, yeah, you don't know what's going to be in there, but when you start to go through the checklist, you're like, oh yeah, I heard about this. Like, Blade being in this, it's an interesting take. So yeah, to see Henry in that moment as Wolverine felt very fulfilling for a fan casting
Mhm.
perspective.
I would have. I'm not gonna lie though. I would have loved to have seen a Harry Potter Wolverine, and he's just got little
But
wands instead of claws or something. like
I love that. I don't know if
I
that's
would
what
be
they were gonna go for,
no
but
for
when you
sure.
talk about, like, that comic accurate, shorter, a
Yeah,
little more grisly.
maybe.
I think Radcliffe could.
He's been brought up before. Taron
Yeah,
Egerton.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
see, that would have been another one. I heard they were trying to get them all.
yeah.
And again, that could have just been another rumor that was kind of thrown into the wind to kind of throw people off the scent. But yeah, it was cool that we actually got to see that, because I know when me and Nate, because we had seen the preview footage, and it wasn't in the
We were
preview
freaking
footage,
out.
but this time it was like, wait a minute, we didn't get this, because we were
Yeah,
watching all of this preview footage, and we get this point, and we're like, what is this? And then when we realized, oh my God, they took it out so we wouldn't actually see it. So smart. Thank you for doing
Mhm.
that. It still
Mhm.
hit for me as an audience member to sit there and enjoy that.
And just the line, "We'll treat you way better than those shit fucks down the street," referencing DC and how
Awesome.
they brought him back for the after credits of Black Adam, and then he's not coming back as Superman. Get him in the MCU. Honestly, even if he's not Wolverine, I'd be okay if we just get him in some way.
Mr.
I think he'd be a
Sinister.
fantastic
Telling you, he'd
addition.
be
Yeah.
great.
Or I was even thinking like Doom that isn't RDJ, like in a
Sure.
longer amount of time from now
He
could
could
work.
be interesting as Doom.
Sorry, Darcy, you
Yeah.
had something you wanted to jump in on.
Oh, I was just gonna say that one of my favorite moments from that little montage of the variants of Wolverine was definitely seeing the David Byrne Hulk versus Wolverine, like just a tease of that, because that's one of my favorite Wolverine storylines. Is that intro fight basically, and it's so cool to the way that this movie's really doing those deep dives into comics. We got Patch, we got all these versions of Wolverine, and give us the one that is one of the most iconic moments for Wolverine is when he fights the Hulk. So again, it's really cool. Just again, the way that movie is fan service, but like done to serve a purpose type thing.
Hmm.
I love it.
Well, I'm going to be the Nate in this moment and be a little greedy and say I wanted more from that, other
From the
than just
Hulk.
like a reflection and then the back of him and then he gets thrown. I get it was in the middle of the montage. It is the moment where we kind of pause through that montage and just kind of take it in for a second. I would have liked to have taken it in a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and
Would
enjoyed
have been
maybe
cool to
some
see
of
a bit
that.
of blows exchanged.
Like even just the action pose, like, like
Yeah.
him leaping and the Hulk kind of, and Deadpool's just like, oh my God, it's just like the comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something like that would have been a lot of fun. And it still would have hit home that fan service. And I think, again, even as someone who would acknowledge that it would just be for that purpose alone, I'd love to see it. Because I don't know if we'll ever actually see that,
Mm.
in any sort of realization, depending on which way they go.
Yeah, there's a really fantastic animated version
Yeah.
of that
So good.
that was really, really good.
Mm.
So that might be where you kind of go to watch it. But I agree with you. I think it would have been cooler to see a little bit longer. We talked about everyone being horny for Peter Pool. I will say I love the running joke with all the TVA agents, or at least the ones in Mr. Paradox's department, being horny for Deadpool and Wolverine, and just the most perfect use. And I alluded to this in our spoiler free, but the most perfect use of Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls both times. Huge shout out to TVA agent Ralph, because his smile when Deadpool's ass is about to be on his face and he's holding his little "I like me" cup that, that Wade steals is just, it's so much, it's pure joy is what I felt in that moment both times watching it.
Ralph felt like he was the hornball of the TVA in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think everyone else, there is that one moment at the end where,
Yeah, that one woman's like
Logan walks in, who's like,
freaking out.
"Yes, you are." Like she was so turned down by the sweat bottoms. It's like, okay, put this sweater on, please. Stop distracting everyone.
So
It was
good.
so funny. Yeah.
Well, again, as I mentioned, I'm sure we could talk about the jokes and the moments throughout this entire thing. And, we're going to continue talking about maybe a few more moments, but I want to talk about some Easter eggs. Of course, every Canadian saw the CN Tower in there. But Darcy, you mentioned that you had caught some Easter eggs in the Void. And you mentioned, as we were watching it for the second time, there might be some vintage items in there.
Yes, like one of the first, as the camera pans up when they first wake up in the void there in the foreground, we see Captain America's shield and like the original Thor helmet. And I'm wondering if that's like an allusion to those original made for TV movies or short run TV series that happened back in like the 70s or
Mhm.
80s or whatever. And it's cool to see how much this movie is paying homage to what came before, not just the Fox stuff, but everything Marvel has brought to the screen in some way was nodded to, at least in this movie, or at least it felt like it. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting about the Void. It's exactly what you described, Darcy. In this movie, the Void is treated as a graveyard for all the movies that have come and gone, and that have somehow made an impact and have been forgotten. And that's very much why we have the characters that we have in our sort of team up battle sequence as examples of. They all contributed to the MCU in some way, but because they were part of another studio that wasn't necessarily pure, the MCU proper, they've been forgotten, they've been lost in the void, they've been taken out. And it's a really interesting concept to layer that in to the story of, and how it sort of has that meta humor around these movies and the influences that they've had. So I don't doubt, like I was trying to figure out, a lot of them. Like I watched a new Rockstars video. They pointed out, the boot that they take off in from Cassandra Nova's place. It could be from
Obadiah Stane,
yeah,
the
Obadiah
Ironmonger.
Stane's Ironmonger suit, where because he went to space.
Yeah, I will say, because I watched the same video. Darcy and I did talk about that prior to us seeing that video, so I was pretty proud of us for being like, okay, yeah. But one of the things that video did point out that is the icing, and that there is, if you look closely, there is actually some ice on that leg, which is cool.
And that's what I mean. Like, it makes sense that it would be, because he did fall from like outside the atmosphere, and just
the
like
icing
crashed.
problem was his downfall.
Exactly,
Yeah.
he didn't figure it out, right? That was
Yeah.
the whole gag and joke of it.
What I thought was cool is that it maybe could have been even a Sentinel boot or leg, because
Oh.
it looked like there was a bit of purple on it as well. So like I was thinking it's either like a Hulkbuster
cool.
leg, it's something that came before. And again, the fact that we've seen so many robots in the MCU now, it could be any of them to some extent. So it's neat that we can almost make our own assumptions as to what that was. And as long as it makes the nerd part of our brain happy, that's all that matters, I think.
Originally, that's what I had thought it was, but when they pointed out the ice in the new Rockstar video, like Eric Voss did, that's where I was like, okay, that makes more sense as to what it is. But there's so many Easter eggs, and
there's a lot.
I
mean,
like,
if you're still wondering what those purple things are, they're called Narvas, and they were apparently in Loki season 1.
Yeah, they were in Loki season 1. I think they were, once they made it through the void. They were like those little creatures that were moving around. I'm pretty sure He Who Remains like had one in the vicinity of his place. I know when I saw it, it definitely took me back to Loki. I just didn't know where in Loki I had seen it.
I'm just gonna correct myself. Earlier, I said David Byrne. That's the singer of the Talking Heads. I meant John Byrne, not the artist who drew for Marvel. So just want to clarify that, because you get very different Google searches if you're looking for David Byrne Wolverine, because you wouldn't get anything basically.
Well, speaking of searching for one thing and getting different results, Deadpool getting so excited for Avengers Assemble, and then we get Flame On, which we all kind of. I think
Darcy
all of
predicted
us.
that.
Darcy
said that a while ago.
I'll give it to him.
A while back. He said, imagine you see, Chris Evans in there. You think it's Captain America, and like he's gonna say something, and then he says "Flame On," and
what
then
a payoff!
Johnny Storm. I think you actually pitched that idea, Darcy, for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and that's
multiverse idea.
It's sort of the idea of playing with it, and again, the movie has such a fun tongue-in-cheek manner with how it's addressing these characters. But yeah, you mentioned Johnny Storm. Can we talk about those other characters that showed up, because like they're pretty much Easter eggs? You got Elektra, you got Blade, and of course you got the never before seen Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Channing Tatum is Gambit, who is a
never before understood Gambit.
Who was your dialect coach? A minion?
So good. That joke landed very well. I think we were talking about this after, and I might even been talking about it with Daniel from the movie podcast. But his performance in this obviously goes so jokey that I'm kind of glad they didn't make his movie if that's the way he was going to go with the character. But it does.
I don't think he would have. I think he would have.
I know. Apparently, he had a very solid Creole accent when he was originally testing for the character. And
he
worked extensively with a dialogue coach. So I think them going this route is to just lean into the fun that this is a character that could have been, but now we're gonna wish that we didn't see that.
When he starts talking about his dad's nuts going off,
like shooting at my daddy's dick ready.
Like, I was like, what is happening right now? But he looked great. The hair was great. The costume was great. He was a little stiff in the neck area. I wish they could give him a little more flexibility. It did look like he was kind of
Batman. He suffered from Batman
syndrome. Yeah. But then when he gets into the action mode, like that's where it really does. Like that's where it's cool. But that's Channing Tatum's breakdance, stripper dance style, where he's throwing cards and he's like whipping poles and stuff like that.
Boom,
I was like, it
was
makes
so
sense.
cool. Yeah.
And it looked really, really cool. So to give that character was struggled so hard in the production world to actually get made. To see it come to life, it's really on Ryan and Channing and the entire team to work with him to kind of bring that character to life. So it does though present the question, like, what would his version of look like in relation to this? Because I think that this version obviously goes hard into Channing's more comedic side, like the 21 Jump Street sort of, like, he thinks he takes himself seriously and he's cocky kind of style.
Well, you mentioned Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Blade.
There
I
is a
popped
line
when I
in
saw
there.
that.
Oh yeah, of course. But there and the lion growl and everything. There is a line in there though where he does say, "I'm the only Blade," or "There's only one Blade, and there's always only going to ever be
Only ever gonna be
one
one Blade.
Blade."
Yeah.
Is that what like with Blade being delayed and all the production issues that they're having? Is that do you think that's a hint to say, hey, it's not happening?
No, because I someone else commented about this online, and I agree with
Hmm.
the sentiments that they said. It's like, if Marvel were to do that and to let that joke fly in, even though and that's their way of subtly saying, "Oh yeah, we're not going to do Blade," that's just mean. That's
Yeah,
disrespectful to Mahershala Ali. I
sure.
think what they're highlighting really at the end of the day is that there hasn't been another Blade, and there only is currently one Blade.
Mm,
And almost the idea that it is something that is coming. If it does happen, it's not going to be because Marvel's going to be like, well, it's a waste of time for us. They're doing all they can to try to get like writers and directors to do it. It's more or less, if Mahershala Ali decides to walk away, then this movie won't happen, or it happens with Wesley Snipes.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if they decided to go that route, and I honestly think that they could still go that route of involving Wesley Snipes' character into this with all the multiversal stuff that's going on. But again, I don't know if you want to convolute that when it's already, we need to, again, I kind of, we've said this in the Hall H discussion episode, which is out now. They need to get away from the multiversal thing. So like, maybe there's just too much of it happening. So
Hmm.
let's just focus it on where it needs to take us. And maybe it's not integral for all characters to have it, but I don't know. I don't think it was a slight joke. Like Marvel obviously had to, and Kevin Feige would review these jokes and, oh yeah, that's great. Like even the multiversal joke that Deadpool is making, you
Right.
know what I mean? That is calling them out in a lot of ways for sort of the missteps, you know what I mean, of this whole process. And they've only had, I said two in our This Week in Geek episode from the Hall H discussion, but there is three actually. If What If, No Way Home, and Loki all dealt with the multiverse in really great ways,
Really
but
well.
everything else, like Doctor Strange, which was the multiverse of madness, like it didn't land
No.
as what it was supposed to be. So yeah, I think they're not, they've, with the jokes that they've allowed them in so that they can poke fun at themselves. I don't think they're gonna let a joke in to say like, yeah, this is how we're gonna tell everyone that Blade, there's not gonna be a Blade movie. I don't think that they would approve it that way or do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially with the way that Deadpool looks at the camera there. It's like, that's almost like, I don't think he knows what he's talking about, look, type thing. Like,
Yes.
he's not in on this joke that we are, basically. So
That's true too. That does too.
I feel like, again, that's just they're almost, the fact that you pair that with the appearance of Channing Tatum's Gambit, with like the character that could have been, and now we're almost in a very similar situation with Mahershala Ali's Blade. It's almost like that happened once, we won't let it happen again, type thing. I almost feel like that's why they brought this joke to light. But again, anytime they talk about the multiverse or just how Marvel has been handling things, I think is just pure gold, because again, it shows they're not pulling any punches. Like even Marvel or Disney isn't safe from Deadpool's scathing tongue. So it was really great to see those very self-referential moments, and seeing they know what their flaws are, and hopefully this means that they're gonna start trying to course correct.
Welcome to the MCU. You're joining us at a low point.
At a low point, yes.
Like,
So
come on.
good. That popped off in every screening that we've been
sure.
in.
Yeah.
There's also shout out to Wendy Jacobson, who produced this movie. She also produced or executive produced, worked as an executive producer on this movie, I should say. She also worked as an executive producer on She-Hulk. And I had the chance to chat with her. But there's a subtle sort of reference to She-Hulk as well, with Kevin Bott being at the very end of this movie, with Deadpool trying to point out that Johnny did say all those words, all those insults. And then just kind of sticking with this area, like we're talking about this section of the movie where we are introduced to Elektra, Blade, Gambit, and X-23. The bed that Hulk slept in Thor Ragnarok is where Deadpool keeps waking up and saying Thor. And we'll talk about maybe why he keeps saying Thor a little bit later. But I did want to ask both of you and kind of dig into this a little bit. we see the statue of the Scarlet Witch in that moment. This is the same statue that was in the Darkhold Temple in Multiverse of Madness. Sorry to bring that movie up again. But I ask both of you, is this confirmation that Wanda is alive? And if so, was she in the void? Is she in the void? What do you guys think?
I don't know about that. I mean, I feel like that'd be a bit of a stretch for this to be the reveal that she is still alive. Again, we're seeing the void where so many things go. Like nothing is safe, considering we saw the CN Tower there as well as the 20th Century Fox logo. So I feel like it is almost just be like, we understand this is the bad point. We're going to keep the set piece as a little nod to where we came from, and we won't go back there type thing
Mm.
because again, they're shifting away, and the way that they almost right after you see that, when you see Deadpool on the bed, the fact that he's kind of obscured except for his red, basically his crotch, it's almost like, oh, are we seeing Scarlet Witch here type thing? And I think it is just more building on that joke that like, no, this is a different multiverse movie. You're gonna enjoy it more. I think
Hmm.
so. I don't know. I think it'd be cool if she was alive, and it's plausible that she escaped to the void. But I feel like this is almost just another little throwaway nod to what came before.
Yeah, I agree with you, Darcy. I don't think the seeing the statue or the parts of the temple in any way kind of signify that she's alive. It also does again with the multiverse. She's not really gone, right? Like I think we
I
could
have
see
hope.
another Scarlet Witch. No, I definitely think we'll see another iteration of a Scarlet Witch
Hmm.
in some facet, whether it be multiverse, whether it be some sort of form of resurrection or something.
Mhm.
There's there the, it just feels like such an integral character to even just the mutant saga when we start coming around to that again. But yeah, I think again we have to look through the lens of there are elements throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as outside the Marvel Cinematic Universe that the void how exist in the void. And I think this is just one of those kind of archetypal things that again get fans signifying, oh, that's Scarlet Witch, that's the Darkhold Temple, like all of those sort of things to kind of get that conversation is like, why not just have it? In all honesty, I believe they probably had that as a set piece in London and we're like, why don't we just throw it in, right?
In my head
Hmm.
canon, when you see that red flash in Multiverse, that's where she ended up, right there. That's where I'm going with, just because I want to have that hope that she's still alive. She maybe was in the void. She's definitely no longer there. But even with her connection, to X-Men. In general, I think it was really kind of neat to see that nod there. I want to just before we move on, I want to just go back to the Deadpool core. I think for both of you, this isn't necessarily for you, but for our listeners listening, Kid Pool and Baby Pool, both voiced by Ryan and Blake's actual kids. Darcy, you caught on our second go that Headpool was voiced by Nathan Fillion,
Hmm.
which is so much fun. And of course, we love him in the MCU. And of course, Lady Deadpool, Blake Lively looking absolutely incredible. And
The whole family.
the whole
The
family
whole
is there.
family was in it. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, who's also part, you know what? He's part of the family too. All right, all right, all right. Cowboy Deadpool. But I do want to shout out the fact that two Wrexham players made it into this movie. In the background of the bar in Canada, striker Ollie Palmer is nice and tall back there. And then the identity of Wrexham Pool, who made it into this movie, was none other than Mullins, Super Paul Mullins.
I
I
believe he
just
was just
don't
Welsh
think.
pool.
Oh, Welsh Pool. My
Yeah,
bad. So
yeah.
sorry.
Just
Um,
gotta be a stickler here. Push my glasses.
Put your glasses up. Don't ever interrupt me singing the Paul Mullins song ever again, Darcy, or Wade's gonna come over and kick your ass. But no, I love it. I fell in love with those players and the team and the city and the community that the documentary showcases in Welcome to Wrexham for all three seasons. There's just been so much like conversation obviously with Ryan Reynolds, but about Deadpool, and that Deadpool's even made it into one of the fan songs and things like that. Like it's just so cool to see, and it's also so funny that Rob McElhenney had a cameo as a TVA agent and was cut. Like all of this surrounding Wrexham is both heartwarming and hilarious. And I just
Hmm.
huge shout out to Ryan if that was his idea to cut Rob from the movie.
It does feel like just a big troll, like the ongoing joke between the two of them. I wouldn't be
Sure.
surprised if something pops up in the next birthday message from Ryan or whatever that is referencing this. It's a lot of fun, and I again coming out of the movie at first, I'm like, oh, what, maybe he was one of the TV agents who was stuck on Wolverine's
Yeah,
claws at the
yeah, yeah. That
beginning
makes
there,
sense.
but
That would make sense. Yeah.
it would make sense for, again, especially the type of humor that we see on It's Always Sunny. That would be right up that alley. But
Right
yeah,
up that alley. You know what I'm saying? Jeez.
yeah, but yeah, the cut. I hope we get more on that, and that it is just a big joke, or there was a reason for it, or something. I'd love to see what he would have brought to this movie.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
cool to see if they ever could release like a Deadpool cut or something.
Not even that. Like you just like to your point, like it's something that Ryan releases and says like,
Sure.
yeah, his scene didn't make it through, but here it is.
Here you go.
Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I could see him just posting it and having fun with it in that way. Another one of the Deadpools. I don't know if you caught this, but today at the time of recording this on Tuesday, July 30th, Harry Holland was also
Yeah.
one of the
Tom Holland's brother.
Tom Holland's brother. Yeah. So, and he's both like Tom and Harry. They kind of have like some fight skill choreography, flips and stuff, which is kind of what has helped Tom as Spider-Man. So he's like, I guess I don't know if he's actually like a stunt person or if he's like stunt person light, and it's just sort of a cameo opportunity. But yeah, he posted today on his Instagram that he participated in that, which is pretty cool.
Really cool.
Also, just while we're just talking about the Deadpool scene, I love the fact that all the variants we got to see that didn't have a speaking role, or just in the background. We saw King Pool at one point.
Yeah.
We saw there's an Uncanny X-Force Deadpool with the gray on black suit.
Oh, yeah.
What was the Tron one? Was that the Tron one?
So the Tron one, actually, that's one of my favorite little references. That's actually Deadpool's daughter from the future. That's a Deadpool
Whoa.
99. And I'm not sure, I
Sick.
can't remember if she is his daughter that is human, or he has a second daughter who's a vampire. So I couldn't remember which one is which, but
Wow.
it's such a fun little storyline. He ends up stealing Dracula's wife, and they end up having this weird masochistic relationship with each other. And a daughter who is just as twisted as her dad, but with the skills of her mom, is born. And yeah, this again, all the variants we see are so cool.
Well, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right or if I have the right name. Sorry, Darcy or comic book readers, but like Ronin Pool, I'm going to call
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
With the baby arms trying to bow at the end was so good and such a great callback.
The baby arms was because his arms were cut off.
Yeah,
Yes.
when you see
And
when
they were regenerating. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
when the
okay.
Horde is being pushed against Wolverine and Deadpool's just pushing him back, you see two arms fly up the side.
away. Yeah, I know.
So good.
That was cool. That was
Mhm.
really cool to see, especially how diverse the collection of Deadpools that they had.
The Greatest
really
Showman
went
pool.
there.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could go on and on and on.
Yeah, you said King Pool, right? Like King
Yeah.
Pool was there. Yeah, that was pretty dope. They had a lot of fun with it, and I think it actually made for a really interesting sort of ending, like action sequence ending before we got to like the sort of big emotional moment.
And then just one more thing, Darcy, you and I think we did. I didn't see it the first time around. Maybe Justin did, but your friendly neighborhood Stanley steamer. Stanley is on the bus on the side. His birthday is 1992, and I guess that's when Stanley Steamer, the company, was established. But then also Raymondo's Marvelous Soup, which is a shout out to Raymond Chan, who had worked at Marvel for a very long time as an art director, who passed away in April of 2024. Justin, I saw you reposted on your stories that video.
Yeah, they just posted like a tribute video on Marvel Studios Instagram, and I'm watching it and I'm like, man, this is like all the work and what they're talking about. And I'm like, oh, it's cool. They did a little featurette, and then it ended with like, memory of.
Yeah.
And it's got me a little teary eyed. I was like, damn, like, especially the way they end that video. There's such a great sentiment of what makes him happy in the work that he does as the set design, and the way Ryan and Hugh and Sean all kind of talk about him from the perspective of being a filmmaker. You know what I mean? Like actors and directors and all this stuff, like they assume the roles and they think they're filmmakers, but he is a filmmaker. And I really enjoyed the sentiments that Ryan shared about the kind of work that he did on these movies. And yeah, it was a really great tribute to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely check it out. It's on. It's for now. Well, it's probably by the time you're listening, it's not on Justin's stories, but you could probably find it on Marvel's within their reels.
Check out
right?
Marvel Studios Instagram.
Yeah,
in their reel section. It's like one of the first ones. It's really good. It's good. I'll just put it in the show notes.
There you go. Direct access only here with Geekcentric. I wanted to dig into some stuff that we really couldn't discuss on our spoiler-free review. You know, we mentioned that there were some aspects about the story that didn't fully work for us. Obviously, we've been talking about all the stuff that we loved, and at the end of the day, we gave this a pretty glowing spoiler-free review. But I did want to kind of dig into maybe where you might have thought that the story might have been a bit lacking for you. Like, Justin, I know you had mentioned to me that you didn't think we got enough from Logan's backstory.
Yeah, I think that it's not that we didn't get enough, more or less. I just don't know if I understand what happened in his universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they were as clear. They kind of were really muddled with it. Even when Cassandra, like I thought the big reveal was going to be when Cassandra penetrates his mind and they're in this, lush place with these large stones, which again, we don't even know if those are headstones or whatnot. He's describing the scene. I also in my mind have the storyline of when Mysterio takes over his
With
mind,
Old
and
Man Logan.
with Old Man Logan, and
Yeah.
he Mysterio sets up an illusion where the X-Men are enemies that he then attacks and kills, and then he's freed from that illusion and then realizes what he's done. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's where we were going, but then it seems like he found X-Men that were dead and then killed all the people that killed the X-Men, and then their people, like he didn't stop killing. It sounds like more or less like the Ronin story from Hawkeye, where he just went on a killing spree. And I don't. Again, it's just very muddled. I think there could have been a better way or to kind of cement what he did that was so bad. Other than just like, I guess the big thing is that he disrespected the name of the X-Men for what he did and what Xavier stood for, because he went on this murdering spree. I don't know. Like, again, I'm still kind of piecing it together myself.
I totally agree. It doesn't make sense because like what I'm taking from this story in this film is that he went out for a night of drinking, and one night is all it took for humans to kill all the X-Men, which seems kind of weird to me because even if you take Wolverine out of the picture, you still have a bunch of mutants who are walking weapons. So how are humans getting the upper hand in such a short amount of time? And that's where I don't understand. He says he came home, by the time he got home shit faced, it was already too late, and it's weird. I wish they had gone the route where he was like coerced into killing all the X-Men in some way, whether it was Mysterio or whether they go back to more like the Logan thing with X-23 and having a trigger scent where they douse him in this chemical and all of a sudden he's in a berserker rage and only sees red. Like
I was
it,
saying you bring in Scarlet Witch
Mm-hmm.
for it, right? You
even
say like
that, yeah.
if you can't use Mysterio because it's not like a Sony Pictures movie, then go with Wanda, right?
Hmm.
Go with Scarlet Witch. It still would make sense. She does utter the words no more mutants. I think using Wanda would have made a lot more sense than trying to justify because he went on a bender to get super drunk that he let everyone down and people were calling for him. I don't even think he really understands what happened, and I don't know how anyone else does. So yeah, I wish they were a little more clear with it. Like, yeah, he killed all the X-Men.
Hmm.
It's plain and simple. Like, that's all they had to say.
And I think they could have, like, listen, if they had an even bigger budget for the movie and 20 more minutes or 15 more minutes or 10 more minutes or whatever for this movie to include Wanda, to include some of the original X-Men actors to kind of show that. But honestly, to your point, even just alluding a little bit more to something like that, and
More
especially
concrete.
right, and
Yeah.
especially with the inclusion of that Wanda statue, like there's a way you could
Yeah.
sort of tie that in on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think to kind of go to the Old Man Logan Wolverine number 70, storyline, it would have added a lot more depth. I wanted to kind of call out, you both of you brought up or one of you brought up the moment at the end where they're holding hands and with right with Cassandra Nova's ending there. I will say I enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed seeing them come together. I enjoyed seeing them in that final moment. I do wish that we had more from Cassandra Nova as far as a big final confrontation. I think she was so good. She was so scary and creepy throughout the film. And I just kind of felt like she just explodes into nothingness at the end. and it just felt a little disappointing for something that I think could have been maybe a little bit bigger. And again, we talked about in our SDCC conversation that Marvel kind of does have a little bit of a villain problem at times. And I really enjoyed Cassandra Nova. I enjoyed Emma Corrin in this. I just think that they kind of just played right into that hand of that villain problem with the way they ended that character. So that was something that I couldn't talk about in the spoiler free that didn't
Sure.
quite work for me. But Darcy, was there anything that that stood out for you that as a key story element that you wanted to chime in on, whether it be something that didn't work or something that absolutely did?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the things that I didn't really enjoy in this film was the way they handled X-23. I feel like
Hmm.
it was a very underutilized character, especially with the connection she has to Logan. The few scenes we get with the two of them isn't enough to justify her bringing her back again. And even when we do see her in the moments of action, it's stuff we've already seen before when she was younger. Like the even her lunging at Juggernaut there at the end, where they cut away from the big moment, we've seen in Logan, and they
Why?
don't cut away. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
makes no sense to bring this character back and then do so little with her. And like it was cool the scene by the fire in Logan. It was neat to see that connection again, but I wish there was more of that. I guess.
Yeah. I agree. I think there should have been a little bit more in sort of her introduction up front a little sooner when they got to the void.
Hmm.
They kind of have this sort of road trip vibe before we get to X-23. But I still liked what Daphne Keane did, or whatever,
Hmm.
with what she was given. I think primarily what she was there for was to motivate and be the emotional heart for Logan, which is part of the reason why they spoiled it. In a recent article, Kevin Feige said like there were two reasons why they ended up spoiling the reveal of X-23 in the trailer, because Daphne Keane wanted to go to the premiere.
There you go.
So if you put her there, it's going to raise a lot of questions. So that, but the first and foremost was marketing. Really wanted to hit home the emotional core for Logan's character, and I think that final trailer, it definitely hits home, and it definitely created a lot of interest. My only question around X-23 though, and we were talking about this, is that this is the X-23 from Logan, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right, like 100%. So like so that's really interesting when you're going to pull that character into this. Timeline wise, it all seems really fucky, because the other thing too
Yeah.
about this movie that seems weird is like I was tracking when the movie started. We see what has happened in the past, and it goes to he goes to 2018 and 616 on the sacred timeline, and he's in this job interview, and I'm like, okay, so he's basically going to Kevin Feige. He's asking for a job, right, to be a part of the Avengers, and then he gets turned down and says, no, you gotta wait, and John and Happy Hogan gives him this lovely conversation. And like I just love Happy Hogan's like
The
hand
way he
gestures.
uses his
Yeah, he
hands.
says, maybe you don't need to be at the top. Just, settle. And he just
Find your
keeps
own
dropping
place.
level to level.
Yeah.
And Wade's just watching his hands go down, being like, I don't know what those hand gestures were meant to signify.
And sorry, really quickly before you keep going, don't forget your
Yeah.
your point. But I do want to, just because you're in that scene, I love that they did confirm that that Iron Man helmet belonged to Tom Holland's Spider-Man as a kid in Iron Man. That was Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Given that there's a picture of Tony and Spider-Man, but the helmet is covering Tom Holland because they can't get the rights to obviously use him because it's a Sony-owned property. So I thought that was really a fantastic, very subtle way just to sort of say like, all right, listen, this is
I
true.
I think the notion of the visuals is really true. The confirmation of it obviously is like, until actually Kevin Feige says, yeah, that's why we did it, or that's the set design people say, yeah, that's why we
I
did
think
it.
that's it.
It's a great way to nod to the characters.
Yeah.
But no, like the way they set that up with him in 616 trying to be an Avenger, he gets turned down, so he goes back to his universe where he's obviously saved all of his friends and just kind of pulled them in. And then we find out the anchor being for his timeline is Logan, who died saving X-23,
In
but that took place in
2029.
2029.
Yeah,
And we're 6 years from 2018, which if I'm not mistaken is 2024, right? Like, right, doing the math.
that's the
So
math.
like what I'm confused with is how that sort of lines up. And then wouldn't then X-23 have been from Wade's timeline of 10,005, which I guess we're identifying as
3 zeros. Let me push my glasses
10,
up. Yeah.
10,
Yeah,
10,005.
That's three
10
zeros.
10,005.
One in the
Yeah.
one in the 10,
Oh,
and two more.
let me take my
10,005.
glasses off. Sorry.
Yeah, you're not seeing straight, bro. You got the wrong prescription or some
I
shit.
gotta fix that.
But obviously 10,005 is the Fox universe, right? Like I'm assuming so, because it doesn't seem like he bounced around to all these different timelines and just settled in it. He brought all of his friends that died back to one timeline.
Yeah.
That's at least how I'm understanding it. But when we start getting into the whole Logan and X-23 and 2029, it just starts to muddle it. So I don't know if we're ever going to get a definitive answer as to how it all kind of fits.
Well, there is a Marvel Timelines book, obviously, that was published and released prior to this movie. So I'm sure if they do an update to that book, let's pray that they'll find an answer. They'll find a way.
Also, we do have to remember that the Marvel universe is ahead of us by a few years. I think it's 2026 at the end of Endgame,
Okay.
because there is a 6-year time jump there as well. So I think we are at this point in time, we are at least there. So a bit closer to the 2029 end date. And again, the Void is all timey-wimey, and the TVA exists out of time. So they could be talking about how his anchor being is going to die. And then when Deadpool travels back, he has made that jump to that point because he's heard of it. I don't know. It's something along those lines. Again, it's very easy to explain away through like just a weird timey-wimey business that is the TVA.
Well, and that's just it. I think where we've had a little more consistency in this movie, it seems very muddled. It seems a little confusing. So again, unless we can get a new Rockstars video that can just break it down.
Eric's working on it right
please,
now.
Eric, if you're listening to this, maybe would love to see how it breaks down into a timeline. Because it is a little all over the place. But I also think he recognizes that it's a little all over the place.
One kind of big story element that I wanted to just ask regarding the ending of the movie for both of you before we get into what's next and kind of wrap up here. Did the TVA are we all under the assumption that the TVA pruned all the other Deadpools, or are they all out there jumping around in Wade's universe?
I think they pruned them all with the way that B-15 comes in there and how Peter saves the day. I'm sure Peter saw all the Deadpools
getting pruned. Okay.
And that's why he comes running in at the end there. I don't know. Deadpool makes the most sense as a target for the TVA with how much he breaks the fourth wall and can just mess things up. It seems like a prime target for them to prune. So I get
they're like, we got to get rid of these Deadpools.
I wonder if that's a reason. Yeah, and I think that's a reason why there's so many of them in the Void.
Mm-hmm. It's because they're constantly a problem. That
exactly
they know too much because they can break the fourth
in
wall.
every universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're trouble. So they're all pruned and living in the Void. Even Nice Pool, which again was a great running joke, especially with Dog Pool attached to it. Like
Mary
so
Poppins.
Good.
No, my favorite is the proposal throwaway. Like I can gently tap the fourth wall.
Or
the proposal.
When he drags his body and he's clearly murdering him, and Logan's just like, "You're a fucking murderer, man! Look what you're doing to this guy, right? Like, why'd you do this?" And it was, you think it's for the dog, and then he whips out the two golden pistols, and it's like, this is what it was.
I just love that he's like, we're all grieving here, okay?
I also love when he's trying to resuscitate the headless Nice Pool. He also slams his fist down, and when he does, all the bullet holes spurt more blood, which is just such a dumb, it's a dumb little thing, but it works so much in Deadpool. It's great.
I like the corner when they're getting into the Odyssey. And he's like, the Odyssey's a piece of shit car, and then he's like not wanting to let the dog go. He's like, no. He's like, sorry, girl, the cord was dense. The cord is dense, and he's just like, fuck, I can't. Oh, damn it. He's like an angry child. That was a really, really fun scene as well. So with Nice Pool definitely added some much needed tamed comedic value that was just accentuated by all the I guess the crass nature of Wade.
Well, sometimes predicting the future of the MCU can be as difficult as trying to make your way through the thickest of cornfields. But thank you so much. Thank you. Deadpool and Wolverine have now saved their universe of 10,005. So now what? What do you think this means for the MCU? Where do you think we're going to see them next, as well as X-23 and Dogpool, who we saw at the end of the movie? Darcy, where do you think they show up next?
I don't know where we'll see X-23 or Dogpool again. That's more up in the air for me. But I definitely think that Wolverine and Deadpool, the way they B-15 says, explicitly points out how their universe is now regenerating. That is going to be a very big thing going forward with the threat of incursions coming, and the fact that some of these universes might be slamming together. And maybe the way to go past that is a way to merge anchor beings or
Whoa.
something along those lines. And I feel like that might be why we'll
Whoa.
especially see them in a doomsday. Again, I alluded to this in our STCC breakdown, but I feel like that line of how the timeline is regenerating is probably the biggest takeaway going forward for the multiverse saga as a whole.
Yeah.
In that this might be the way that they bring all these fractured universes together going forward underneath one timeline, so that we can say goodbye to the multiverse and just focus on the MCU proper type thing.
Proper. Yeah, merge everything together. Well,
Mhm.
it's interesting too because theoretically, Deadpool was right. You bring an anchor being from another timeline here,
And it
and
fixes
I
it.
guess if and well, it doesn't necessarily fix it, but I think the actions of what he did fixes it. Do you know what I mean? Like he became an anchor being
Oh, I
for the
see.
By
timeline.
making the
Do you know what I
same
mean?
selfless sacrifice that Wolverine would
Exactly.
have. Yeah.
Exactly. So he embodies that, and it's now regenerating it. And that to me is sort of what I took away from why it's suddenly regenerating. And there's just like sort of a meshing that needed to happen between Wolverine and this timeline and being its anchor being. And maybe this event has generated it. You know what I mean? Has given him a purpose. And I think they're gonna just it kind of feels like at the end of this movie, like the end of Mandalorian season 3, we've just parked these characters in this timeline.
Yeah.
We will be back to them because I think, to your point, there's going to be incursions, and maybe they're going to be the representatives, and I use air quotes around that, and by that I mean like carried into Secret Wars from that universe. You're going to get X-23, Deadpool, and Wolverine in Secret Wars, and probably on like some sort of like really obscure mission. I'm the one thing that this movie really does present is how are you going to take Deadpool and mix him into the rest of the MCU
Mm-hmm.
in the way that works, that because Deadpool has always been his own world, right? So now it's like lifting him and putting him in to like a Secret Wars on an ensemble, and because Logan and X-23 are going to be super adaptable, but like how does Wade fit into it, and is he going to be like like more background with specific moments that kind of like he alludes to, this shit is crazy, can you believe that I'm here? You know what I mean? Like he'll have like these small fourth breaking wall moments, and then he'll kind of go bounce back into it.
Well, I feel like that could almost tie into the whole Thor of it all, where he sees Thor holding him, and so Deadpool
Yes.
can't die. So maybe he just is faking being hurt because he knows that will get Thor to hold him at some point. Like I can see it being something along
Because
those
he
lines
knows
where
about it. Yeah, he like completes
because he
like a
knows about it
time
happening,
circle.
he's like, oh, okay, my mask is broken and I was lying
He
like I
he
was
even
fine.
rips
Okay,
it himself. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and acts like it so that Thor can come over and
This is
hold
my
him, and then
moment.
we
Yeah.
see like
Yeah.
it's finally happening or something like
I
that.
love
Like
that.
that'd be great.
I love that. I agree with what you're saying, Justin, in terms of parking these characters. I think they're going to be some fantastic big cameos in Secret Wars specifically. I really don't think we're going to really see much of them until then. However, I could see X-23 alongside, Kate Bishop, alongside Love from Thor Love and Thunder, alongside Eli Bradley, alongside like I'd love to see X-23 next to Kamala Khan, like a bubbly Kamala Khan and just an angry Laura would be so cool to sort of see in a young Avengers. So I'm hoping that after we, I don't know whether it's before Secret Wars or after Secret Wars or when it happens, but I really do hope that she is part of that young Avengers team, because I think it would add a really cool dynamic to that group. And I think, more Daphne Keane, why not?
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't doubt that that would be really, really good. I like the idea of more Daphne Keane in the MCU. I really want to see Kamala and Wolverine in
Oh
some
yeah,
sort of capacity, like
like in the
y-
comics. Yeah,
just exactly like in the comics.
yeah,
Like it doesn't need to be a sewer story, but like just to see them together would be pretty wild.
yeah.
So I think that'd be pretty cool. And she's like, yeah, I'm a mutant too. Yeah, and then, like she's like bragging about it kind of
Yeah,
thing. And
she's like, I
like,
can finally talk to somebody about it, right? Like,
yeah, well, what is
yeah,
what's going on?
very
You're a
cool.
mutant. So but I wonder how what's gonna happen with, like, we've seen another timeline with Monica Rambeau
Yep.
and Beast, and there's an X Mansion and all this stuff. So, you know, that's I'm imagining that's another universe outside of what we've just seen here.
Mm-hmm.
And is it universe or is it timeline? I don't know.
Where are we going? How?
Right?
Who
Where are
who's
we
to
going?
say?
They're
Right?
interchangeable.
Like it is.
They're different timelines because something has happened in the past to change the course of it. It makes it another universe and another timeline.
Right. And in the Marvels, it's about they rip a hole through space and time
Mm-hmm.
continuum to like create proximity, like open gates and stuff like that, and it becomes overloaded. So there is that. So, you know, it seems like what they're really setting up is all these universes that are just kind of out there amidst 616, and we're gonna get introduced to another one now. And next year with Fantastic Four First Steps, they're going to give us another introductory timeline.
I hope they even just put a log line on the screen or something, like a little caption that just tells us like universe this, right? Just to define it more, because I am enjoying as much as obviously, like don't tell us how the Force works, but for this sort of stuff, I'm like, give me defined,
Right.
map it out for me, like we want Eric Ross to do.
At a certain point though, it's just a number, right?
Sure.
Like if they say it's another universe, it doesn't really matter, but it's a way for us as fans to track what is going on.
Yeah.
So I do think, yeah, you'll get a log line of some kind that just says, what universe it is. Or maybe it's told to them what universe number they are, and that's how we find out. Because maybe Reed discovers that, so on and so forth. So we're getting all of this sort of setup of like different universes, and I think it's definitely leading to a point. I think we got to get Doctor Strange in here somewhere too, because like, and Shang-Chi in as well, to kind of not necessarily go to different timelines, but to introduce that idea, especially the way Doctor Strange 3 left off, right?
Yeah.
Like there was the whole idea of like, you need to come with me, and
He's got that third eye, dude.
Yeah, Dormammu, and he's the incursions and stuff, like that's where we heard the word incursions and stuff like that. So I think there's going to be more pieces that are going to be added to this board to set up for Secret Wars. But I kind of see it. I see what they're trying to do, at least with all of these different timed universes.
And then where the heck are the Eternals? What are they doing? They just gone forever?
They ain't coming back.
They're never
they're
coming
gone
back?
forever.
Oh, man.
Yeah, well, celestial beings will come back, and
yeah,
I feel like
the only Eternal we'll see would be what's his name? The Black Knight? Is that Jon Snow?
He's definitely
not even an
Jon
Eternal.
Snow.
He's just a different hero.
Oh, you're right.
Not really associated with the Eternals in the comics. He's a kind of standalone thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with Moon Knight, though. And I know we're getting really off topic now, but
just tell us something. I hope
you say Doctor Strange 3? Wasn't that only 2? Or am I forgetting a movie?
No, I mean, Doctor Strange 3 needs to happen.
In our universe, Doctor 3 Strange has already happened, Darcy. In your universe that we're talking to you from,
I'm behind.
It hasn't. You got to come to our universe.
No, we've only had 2, right?
Yeah, okay. I just misunderstood your sentence there. No worries.
No worries. But like, and sorry, not to backtrack, but who was Charlize Theron's character again?
She is Clea.
Yeah. Whoever that is.
That's right.
Doctor Strange's paramour.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Well, listen, obviously we could talk about the future of the MCU, this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, for hours and hours and hours. And we'll continue to talk about the MCU, and hopefully one day again, Deadpool and Wolverine. But that is it for this super, absolutely disgusting, horribly fattening, sopping wet, spoiler-filled discussion for Deadpool and Wolverine. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on this movie or any of the shows or movies we cover, well, you don't have to lick Johnny's cinnamon ring clean. Instead, Justin can you let our lovely listeners know how they can reach us?
Yes, well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter, X, @GeekcentricYT, or on Instagram, @wearegeekcentric.
Or if any of those are like getting your skin ripped off and letting all your organs fall to the ground, we also have our Discord that you can join. You can use the link in our description. We'd love to talk to you about this movie and in full spoilers. So be careful when you're clicking in around there. If you haven't, well, I guess if you're listening to this, then you are spoiled. Keep in mind, listen, I'm talking to the people from a different timeline. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, including our recent spoiler-free reviews. Again, our spoiler-free review for Deadpool and Wolverine, Twisters, House of the Dragon Season 2, and Inside Out 2. And if you're listening to this, you've probably heard by now the massive announcements from Marvel's Hall H panel. We kept bringing it up at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, but if you want to hear us go into full thoughts on all the things, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Captain America, Brave New World, that's what it's called, right? You can definitely check us out, getting hyped over it and all the announcements, as well as our speculation on how it's going to work. How the heck does Robert Downey Jr. work coming back? And you can check all that out in our special This Week in Geek episode where Justin walked us through all those incredible moments. We have a ton of interview coverage out now for this very movie. We hit the red carpet premiere in Toronto. The carpet was red so our enemies wouldn't see us bleed. We spoke to Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and director Sean Levy. We have all that footage out on our socials right now, so subscribe everywhere, check it out. We also have a conversation, as I mentioned earlier, with Rob Delaney, the ever so lovely and iconic Peter, as well as Wendy Jacobson, who served as executive producer on this film. We discuss their multiversal selves. We talk about if She-Hulk would be a great, would there be a chemistry between her and Deadpool on a date? And we also talk about their true intentions, or true thoughts on Ryan, Hugh, and Sean. So check that out either on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Got some fantastic stuff coming up very soon. So stay tuned to our socials to see what we're getting up to. Here's a hint. Deadpool says he's going to the same place in this movie at one point. So that is a little hint for you as to what's to come. Justin, Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this extra sticky and spoiler-filled discussion. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Peace.